Good evening. Let us discuss 26th June 2015 newspaper. The first one is the BCIM project is on a fast pace between Bangladesh, Myanmar, China and India. So now let's talk about One Belt One Road initiative of China a bit. It has three components to it. One is the BCIM China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, China-Mongolia-Russia Corridor. So among this, the India is involved with BCIM corridor. Now this BCIM corridor connects the Kolkata to Kunming in Yunnan province in China. So this Kunming, the road goes through Dhaka and Mandalay in Myanmar, Dhaka in Bangladesh. So actually with regard to this road, already most of the stretch is connected. Now Silchar in Assam to Impal in Manipur, one stretch which is pending, India is already taking up the work in that. And next is this Kalewa and Manyava, this particular part in Myanmar, the road was already finished by India. This Tamu and Kalewa road, it is already going on. So this is, it means that already the work is very much active with regard to BCIM corridor. Now what are the challenges to this is, so certain road has to go through Arunachal Pradesh, which is an area of conflict as for China between both the nations. And once this road is completed, India has few advantages. The northeastern India, which is a landlocked, it gets the sea access. And next is the free trade agreement with Southeast Asia. So the improved connectivity will provide for the improvement of the trade with those nations. And added to that, India's dependence on the Malacca Strait also comes down along with China. So, but what the objection that China is raising is the Kaledan multimodal project between India and Myanmar also has to be brought under this. But India did not bring in this Kaledan multimodal project in Mizoram under this project. And next is recently Madras High Court, it has ordered a rape case for mediation. So in 2009, a local court has accused and convicted an individual for rape of a minor. Now when the case came to the Madras High Court, Justice P. Devadas has referred the case for the mediation. Now in this case, the first thing is, we need to understand when a case can be given for mediation. The mediation is an alternate dispute redressal mechanism, and it can be only applied when both the parties have agreed to that. In this process, a neutral mediator assists in both the parties so that they can come to a mutually agreed decision. So here, the burden on the court will decrease and the court time will be saved onto this. So it is mostly used in the civil cases, but with regard to the criminal cases, it was not very much, or heinous crimes, it was never used. Now in the present case, which is a criminal offense, the judge has referred to the matter to the mediation. And the second thing is, the consent of the other party, that is victim, was not taken. Generally the mediation is been referred to with the consent of both the parties. And the second thing, if you take a civil case, it is generally seen as a violation of the rights of an individual. On the other hand, the criminal cases are the violation of the collective rights or the rights of the society as a whole. So that's the reason why the state takes the responsibility and it appoints the public prosecutors to prosecute, convict and punish the accused. Now here the individual victim does not have a major role and state takes the responsibility, as criminal offense is an offense against the society as a whole. Now if you take the rape is a criminal offense and the state has a responsibility to prosecute that. So if the case is referred to the mediation, the challenge will be this. The state in this responsibility will be, or else to prosecute the accused will be done away with. And the increasing dependence on alternate dispute redressal such as mediation by the courts, it will also decrease the authority and respect of the court, especially in this particular heinous crimes. Now, the survivor and her role in this particular case. Understand that now as it's a criminal offense, state takes the major responsibility, but however, the Satyavani versus Samuel Raj case, the Madras High Court, the Madurai branch has clearly said that even the victim has a role with regard to this particular case. She has an opportunity to be heard and can participate in the entire process, which is otherwise is going between the state and the accused. So this is what is the thing. Now, if you understand, there are another ground on which we can denounce or question the mediation. The J.S. Verma committee has clearly said that it is not lust. The amount of the rape also involves an exhibition of the power based on the gender relationships. In this case, anything given for a mediation, already the power relations are unfavorable to the male. That is going to make the mediation process biased towards the male. So that's why mediation is not advised in any rape cases. And the next article, it is related to housing and urban projects. Now there are three projects. One is smart cities, and next is Amrut, and next is Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. So Amrut is going to replace the Januram. Now under the smart cities, 100 cities will be selected, and Amrut 500 cities will be selected. Now in this case, for these cities, 50,000 crores is been given for Amrut, and the cities under the Amrut will be selected on the basis of urban population and number of urban areas in a particular state. Now what are the improvements which are being brought into this? A bottom-up approach has been undertaken, under which the citizens has to involve with regard to the making up of urban development. And the second thing is, the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana, under this, the 2 crore house, dwelling units will be built, and house for all is the target to be achieved by 2022. And the second thing is, most of the projects under the urban renewal mission previously, they were stalled in between due to lack of land acquisition or improper land acquisition, or lack of finances with the state governments. Now along with this, every state has to submit a state action plan in which how it is going to access the finances. And second, once the project is being started, within 7 days the land has to be submitted to that particular respective municipality or corporation, urban local body. It means that the state has to prepare before it launches a project, either it is related to land acquisition or with regard related to the arrangement of the finances. Now how the smart cities will be selected? So they will be selected on a competitive process on a list of criteria which are mentioned. So any one which gets the highest marks on this list of criteria, that will be selected for the smart city program. So these are the things which are being given with regard to the smart cities. And next is this Affordable Care Act of the Obama was passed by the Congress. That's a positive step. So it means that every citizen can be ensured of the health care and health insurance in the United States. The health care system of the United States is one thing which is hated by all the Americans equally. And now this Affordable Care Act, which was vehemently opposed by the Republicans, which also has led to the delaying of the approval of the budgets last year. Now this is one of the important articles. Now the first thing is, already the sanctions were in action against Iran. These sanctions actually debilitated the Iranian economy. So they have devastated the Iranian economy. If you can see, the oil exports have decreased halved when we compare to this 2012. And the total size of the GDP, it has contracted from around $560 billion to around $410 billion. It is a significant contraction of the GDP growth. So, and next is, the oil prices also have decreased, and the Saudi oil is relatively cheap when compared to the Iranian oil. All these have added up to the sanctions of the Iran. And you know that there is a civil war, or else a kind of cold war which is already existing between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And the sectarian violence is also strong in West Asia, where Iran and Saudi Arabia are playing their respective roles. Now in this case, West Asia has to be kept off the nuclear weapons because it is one of the hot spots of the world. So in this case, the framework agreement has come between P5+1 countries and the Iran in Lausanne on April 2nd, 2015. Now, a complete comprehensive agreement has to be brought in now. Now, in this case, what are the issues that are pending between these two? Now the first thing is the timelines. So the timelines means during which the sanctions will be lifted on the Iran. So Iran wants for a once for all lifting of the sanctions. So the P5+1, it's a progressive relief of the sanctions which they are talking about. And next is once the sanctions are being lifted and the agreement comes into force, how the Iranian nuclear facilities have to be accessed and how it has to be verified and how they have to be brought under the international verification mechanism. And next is in case Iran fails to oblige the contract, then terms of the conditions, then how to reimpose the sanctions. The number of centrifuges that have to be maintained in the Fordo facility, in the Iran, and restoring of the sanctions, that is in the case of a breach. These are the various issues that are existing between these things. And another, how much of the enrichment shall be allowed by Iran for its research and development facilities. These are the major 5 issues which are been pending. So in this context, the major objections come from Israel. What the Israel says is deterring the preparation of the bond and totally removing their capabilities or making them incapable to prepare the bomb. That is the 2 things. So Netanyahu government, what it says is, it is not Iran shall not have the nuclear bomb. It is Iran shall not have any capability to make the nuclear bomb too. That is what the Israel intention was. And this particular thing was very much supported by the Republicans in American Congress. So in this context, 2015, that is Iranian Nuclear Agreement Review Act, it was passed by the Parliament, which can become a block with regard to the passage of this particular agreement. Now, the second thing is, the China and Russia, once the agreement is breached, the sanctions shall not be automatically snapped onto Iran. That is what is the China and Russia are talking among the P5+1. And next is, if this agreement do not come up, what are the chances? What will be the problems? Now, the Iran and China, so they try to come out of this particular sanctions regime and they try to independently make a deal with Iran, which is going to weaken the sanction regime against the Iran. And the second thing is, once this agreement did not go forward, the NPT will lose its importance in the West Asia. Now, it will, once the Iran comes out of it, then it leads to a chain of events in the West Asia. So, which is going to be dangerous for the regional stability. So, this is what is the article talks about. So, the main things we need to focus is, so what are the contentious issues with regard to the final agreement? Now, IIMs, the government through IIM bill. So, if we see the provisions, the diploma which has been given by the IIMs now will be converted into degree. It provides for more opportunities for the graduates to enter into PhD courses. That in turn provides for the more faculties available with regard to the IIMs. Now, but however, the contentious issues are, the government is trying to increase the control over the IITs. Now, we have seen that when the government has to increase its regulations, one thing is when there is a huge failure of the management of the organizations, or organization do not have capacities to conduct itself to the set standards, or there is a lot of unprofessionalism in its management. So it means whenever the symptoms of the failure in the organization are visible, then government to improve its functions or to bring it in order can take up the control over the organizations. Now, without any such signs, government is moving towards the control of the IIMs. Now, one way we are allowing for the foreign universities, and the other way you are trying to control and regulate the freedoms of the Indian institutes of management, which are the premier institutions in the country. So that is going to be a retrogressive step with regard to the innovations in the education in India. So next is, the IIM directors also opposed to this government's control, saying that the IIMs are functioning fine and they are a brand name in itself and they are serving the highest standards in the country. Then what made the government to take the control over the IEMs at this stage is a question. So this is what is the thing which was posed. And next is United Nations Resolution 1267. It deals with the individuals associated with Al-Qaeda and other entities. Now, like in this, Mr. Lakvi, he was the mastermind of 26/11. He was listed under 1267 from 2008 onwards. Now, he was let free by the Pakistan. Now, India in UN Security Council asked a clarification from Pakistan on the release of Zakir-ur-Rahman Lakvi. Now, China has stalled it with regard to the UN Security Council. So now, India and China agreed for an MOU on terrorism when Prime Minister Modi visited China. In spite of this, China's contribution with regard to the India with regard to the terrorism is very minimal. So previously, China also has stalled the India's request for clarifications on Salahuddin, who was that is United the United Terrorist Federation or something, an organization was created. Mr. Salahuddin was made as the chairman of that. When India moved under 1267, even China asking for extra clarification did not take it forward. Now it has been clear that China is also a victim of terrorism and a joint effort is necessary to fight against the terrorism. And stalling the terrorists in the name of the information or other technical details, in the long run it is going to be dangerous for every sovereign nation. That has to be remembered over here. And thank you very much.